Here we go. Episode 72, Wrestling with the Business. A different look today. I'm vacationing in Clearwater. No, not here on Wrestling Business, on vacation. And Matt and Jeremy are down in the studio, up in the studio in Saratoga. Guys, what's going on? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Loud and clear.
Got a lot of stuff to go over. Big news after Elimination Chamber. John Cena has finally turned heel, going against Cody Rhodes, wins the Elimination Chamber against Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania, seems to be aligning himself with The Rock. We're going to break down all the highlights of Elimination Chamber this past weekend, plus Rhea losing the belt. What's her plan now for WrestleMania? AEW signing and re-signing their deal with Johan Productions for their pay-per-views, and of course, Carmella having some issues with WWE, laid off, been ghosted. That add a little bit to the Corey Graves situation? We're going to find out. Plus, Revolution's coming up. We're going to talk about that in our main event here tonight. WWB, Wrestling with the Business, starts now. Hey guys, we're going to jump right into Elimination Chamber. Big news coming out of this weekend. Internet blowing up. John Cena has finally turned heel, giving Cody Rhodes a low blow in the middle of the ring after The Rock gives him the throat symbol. Seems to be aligning with The Rock. I don't know who saw it coming, who didn't saw it coming. Obviously, he wins the Elimination Chamber. Something's got to happen. Cody Rhodes comes out, gives a congratulations to John Cena. They point to the sign. Obviously, The Rock's music hits. Out comes The Rock and Travis Scott. They come down to the ring, do a little back and forth. Cody Rhodes tells The Rock to go fuck himself. Crowd goes crazy. John Cena goes to hug Cody Rhodes. Rock gives the symbol, and bam, we have a heel John Cena. Guys, what do you think? Did you see this coming or no?
I think the most important question about this is, what the hell was Travis Scott doing there?
Of course, that's what you want to talk about.
Who cares about John Cena turning heel? Why is he here?
I was definitely overwhelmed in the moment. I thought, like, I didn't even realize what was happening as it was happening. Like, Rock did the throat cut thing, and I was like, why the heck's he doing that? That doesn't make any sense. You know, and they were all hard close-ups. And then the meme of John Cena's angry face over Cody's back, like, that's going to be a meme for forever. But it was
that's
very
a scary
clear.
Look.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was really clear.
It's a real scary look.
It was really clear in the moment that we were witnessing something that was going to be on a future This Week in Wrestling history.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
I mean, iconic, incredible. You know, one of the things that we talked about in the lead up to Elimination Chamber, one of the arguments, the strongest argument against John Cena winning was you can't have two faces going against each other. How do you fix that? Well, one of them turns heel. Who's it going to be? Cody, the biggest baby face in the business of the last, well, since John Cena, or John Cena, the perennial baby face. Turns out it's going to be John Cena. So yeah, I didn't see it coming.
I think in all of our fantasy booking, none of us said John Cena turns heel, did we?
Nobody said that.
No. Nope.
Nobody.
I think we all had the question of, like, if he wins, where does it go from here? And none of us put the thought in, well, it could work if John Cena goes heel. I think that's obviously what the surprise was. Kind of give a little backstory. Apparently, very, very little people knew about this. Actually, Triple H actually cut the feed to the Gorilla, where he actually took over all the production minutes before this happened, and where he can control everything that was going on. Not even production knew this was happening. So this is a very tight-lipped secret. I think that led to more of the surprise of it. Obviously, the reaction of the crowd was huge. I think, like, you know, the internet blowing up, all the sports shows the next day. Not even sports shows don't even cover WWE. We're talking about it the next day. Clearly, anyone who's a John Cena fan not only knows the history of John Cena, but also knows that he's very rarely ever gone heel. So it's a big thing. In my opinion, real quick, I think it kind of goes off of The Rock. I think The Rock obviously is doing pretty well as a heel. I think John Cena sees that. I think they can make something interesting with it. Try some new content. I think Cena is like The Rock. They like to try new content and new ideas. See where it goes. I bet you we're going to see a different version of Cena the next couple months.
Yeah, this isn't the Doctor of Thugonomics, which is the last time he was healed 22 years ago. So,
one comment that I want to make or compliment that I want to give to WWE is, I don't know, did either one of you guys watch Raw on Monday night, the Monday following?
I saw
pieces,
clips, yeah.
Did you see the promo that they cut to sort of go over Elimination Chamber again? When they went through the whole thing, they get to the incident, John Cena wins, Rock comes out, blah, blah, blah. They didn't show the moment. They didn't. Remember? It cut to black, and they did all these shocking, surprising, amazing, didn't see this coming, and then it faded back in, and Cena and Rock were standing there. I think Cena had his foot on Cody's head or something. So it was brilliant marketing, really interesting.
Oh, it's great.
Full capitalization. But I mean, the idea of marketing something without showing it, like the idea being like, it's coming, it's coming. You've already seen this a billion times, so we're not going to show it to you. I loved it. I thought that was brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious to see where it goes. Not only what look, when you look at The Rock, obviously, I'm going to use it as The Rock as the example. When Rock turned heel, no one knew that he was going to create this whole final boss persona and everything that comes to that. I'm curious to see if they follow that same layout with Cena, and we see a different type of Cena and what he's going to be able to create and what type of persona he's going to be able to create as a John Cena heel. I'm pretty intrigued. I'm pretty interested to see where this goes. And obviously, is he going to be a heel his whole final run? I mean,
he doesn't have a lot of time. That's ultimately what it comes down to.
Is he heel the whole time? I mean,
he doesn't have a lot of. I mean, that's the other thing is this is all in the story for this is all motivation to win the championship. So if he ends up getting beaten back by Cody, they could easily kill it. He could go away for a month, come back in plenty of time to have a SummerSlam, and spend the rest of the year shaking hands and waving babies.
Or he gets beat.
Shaking hands and waving babies. We need to leave that in.
Yep.
Shaking hands and waving at people and kissing babies.
There you go.
That's what he should be doing. Sorry, I'm fasting today.
Or he finishes out as a heel and comes back next year at the Hall of Fame as his babyface when he gets put in.
I mean, he's totally going in as a babyface, of course.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But yeah,
He
I don't
did
know,
give
amazing.
A clue. I don't know if anyone follows him online, but Cena did give a clue. He posted a photo hour before the event, and it was an image of The Rock, him off to the right, and then Travis Scott off to the left. The three of them. Only the three of them in the picture promoting Elimination Chamber. So he kind of gave a little bit of a hint there that something was going to happen. So
that wasn't the only interesting thing that happened at Elimination Chamber, though.
I got to be honest. I think one of my favorite things of the show was the Jade Cargill return. She comes out right before the match is about to go for Liv Morgan, but
right in the beginning,
changes and goes right to Naomi and literally eats the living shit out of her in the middle of the ring. The crowd was going crazy. The crowd was into it. I think it was interesting on a storyline standpoint, but I don't think anyone saw that coming, and it was definitely a great vibe to start the show out and get the show going for the night.
It's so weird. I don't want to take away from this. I do want to talk about Jade Cargill, but the thought just hit me. Throughout the last week, I've been saying to myself, like, hey, what's going on with Randy Orton? Like, the timing of his return is perfect. Like, just as I was starting to miss the taste of that particular thing, it came right back. It was the same thing with Jade Cargill. Like, just in the last week or two, I've been like, what's going on with Jade Cargill? I haven't seen it. And then, boom, she's back just in time for WrestleMania. Same thing with Orton. So, again, they got the return perfect as far as, at least from a fan's perspective, from my perspective, just timing that out as far as, like, not saturating us too much the way they did with Roman Reigns for all those years and Hogan and all those other champions from the past. So, kudos to them.
While the Cargill beatdown's going on, Bianca selling in the pod, like, what is going on?
Yeah,
let me
hard
out of
sell.
here. Yeah, that really sold the whole thing.
And I knew she was going to win. As soon as Cargill came in and took out Naomi,
yeah.
I went, there she. I think I texted you guys. I was like, yep, Belair's going over 100% now.
Yeah, that whole segment was great. The reaction and how everyone interacted, and Bianca going crazy in in the pod. You couldn't that segment was perfectly executed from the start to the finish, and I think it really got. I watched it. I had to go back and watch it a few times. I thought it was a great segment.
That women's
Definitely leading towards a match, and for I'm guessing WrestleMania. What I would assume.
That women's match overall, Liv Morgan took some really serious shots.
Was beat. Yeah.
I mean, she got beat down. There's pictures of her arms, and of course the whip that she took from Bianca. I mean, this was a particularly brutal. I mean, there's only been 8 or 10, I think, women's elimination chambers.
10 maybe, yeah,
something like that. This one was, I think, the most brutal that I've seen. I mean, some hits that Liv Morgan took, getting slammed multiple times into the cage by Belair, getting whipped by Belair. I mean, there was some serious carnage. I was surprised nobody got any serious color as a result of it, honestly, with some of the hits they were taking. So, very entertaining. It definitely exceeded my expectations, the women's match, for sure.
Still disappointed Alexa didn't win, but it was a decent match.
Yeah, how mad were you? You said you were going to freak out. How do you feel?
Hey. I was. But wait. Me freaking out had been overshadowed by the return. That just changed. That really that made up for it. That was a great opening to the match.
Yeah, I was going to say, they gave you a cookie and then they slapped you. You can't be mad. I got a cookie.
But I will say real quick, back to what you said a few minutes ago, Jeremy, with Randy Orton. Do you not feel like we're beating a dead horse here with Randy Orton going up against Kevin Owens again? Didn't we have that already?
Oh, yeah, we had that a lot.
Yeah.
We had that a lot.
Are we really going back to that again? I mean, I don't really, he can't possibly lose to Kevin Owens again. So that means now Kevin Owens isn't going to lose at WrestleMania? I mean, do we really want this storyline again?
Yeah, I mean,
we already had it.
We'll get into this, I think, a little bit later in our subsequent segments. But to me, this WrestleMania 41 might be the most jam-packed WrestleMania, certainly two-night WrestleMania we've ever seen, because it seems like there's going to be no singles matches. Everything's going to get turned into a 4-way, a 3-way, a tag match, something like that. And I will be very surprised if this winds up being just a straight up, Orton versus Kevin Owens one-on-one mid-card match in WrestleMania. He looked great. How old is he now?
Everyone's healthy. They got a full card. They got a full roster. I mean, they got to put them all on the card.
He's like Cena's age, right? 46 or something like that
48,
now?
something like that.
48, yeah.
It'll end up being like a Hell in a Cell or something.
He looked great. Yeah,
I can see them working Sami Zayn into that match. I can see them almost like a triple threat match, like the other one. I can see them working Sami into that.
Yeah, they got to find a way to get some heat between Sami and
Randy.
and Randy Orton. But
and real quick, one thing just to close up the Elimination Chamber. Travis Scott, I don't know if you guys saw the video at the end of the show where they were holding down Cody Rhodes, gave Cody Rhodes a punch in the face, a legitimate punch in the face. And based off what people are reporting, Cody Rhodes has a busted eardrum and a black eye, so a legitimate injury. He's supposed to be addressing the crowd on SmackDown this week, so I mean, if it's a visual black eye, we'll see it. But it sounds like it may not be any time consuming as far as injury, but nonetheless did get a little injured from Travis Scott. So what do you guys think about that? Is this a guy that shouldn't be in the ring? I mean, I know some people are praising that he should be in the ring. I mean, you got to learn that you can't be giving real punches. That's step number one.
Supposedly, I thought I heard he is training for some sort of a match or a run or something, but
I did hear that.
Yeah, I don't think he has any reason to be there.
I think the company tested out heavy celebrity involvement last year at Backlash with Bad Bunny. Bad Bunny put in the time. Logan Paul, obviously very naturally athletic, and put in a whole bunch of time, seen a lot of success. I think they got a little high smelling their own farts, and they thought, oh, we can just throw a guy like Travis Scott that doesn't know anything about wrestling but loves it and has a passion for it into it. And I think he's a performer. He got a little too into it in the moment, doesn't really know how to throw a punch, certainly at that awkward angle with Cody down and his face to the side like that. Maybe didn't quite realize how much skill it takes, and ended up hurting the biggest star in the business right now. I mean, he literally, if you're going to injure anyone, you do not want to injure Cody right now. So I think they need to...
That's a bad way to start.
Yeah, they need to pull the brake on him a little bit or do a lot of work between now and WrestleMania, because The Rock in his press conference afterwards had a lot of really good things to say about him.
I'm sure he did. He's his buddy.
Yeah, but I mean, you really don't want to have a guy like that, a guy that you have to take care of who isn't going to take care of you in the ring with you. That's spells trouble.
Exactly. Hey guys, let us know what you think down below. Give us a comment. How do you think Elimination Chamber went? Did you like what you didn't like? And of course, always support us here at Wrestling with the Business. Hit that like button down below or that subscribe button right here for us at WWB.
So now let's turn to the following night after Elimination Chamber. Now, I was actually...
Two
nights, sorry. Yeah, they're on Saturdays now. So on Raw this week, I was expecting to see the follow-up to Cena and Rock. They weren't there, but some other interesting things happened. Rhea Ripley, no longer Women's World Champ. That was a little surprising. I thought we had the WrestleMania card set, but no, Io Sky beat her for the title, and now it's going to be Io versus Bianca Belair.
Yeah, and just really quickly, I want to tip my hat to Triple H. One of the changes that I've seen really since he's really taken the helm is a willingness to change belts on a weeknight, which is something that really has not existed really, I don't know, since the early 2000s. Like what do you think?
Certainly not the top belts.
No, and to see a world championship, I always, my ears kind of perked up when I saw the visual after the Elimination Chamber, and it said Bianca Belair versus either Io Sky or Rhea Ripley, and I was like, like, wow, are you really pushing the Monday night show in Buffalo here, or what's going on? Because does anyone actually think Io Sky is going to beat Rhea? And then they did it.
Yeah. And that's the story. Rhea Ripley has never beaten Io Sky at all,
which is an interesting storyline to work with, but I don't know. I mean, for me, I guess the first question that I had when I saw that happen was, is Rhea going to be at WrestleMania? Like, is she doing some kind of a Becky Lynch? Like, I'm actually tired and kind of injured a little bit, and I need some time off.
No.
Because remember, this is basically exactly what happened with Becky Lynch a year or two ago, where she took the belt back for like a month or two and then gave it right up. But yeah, I mean, I have been reading some things now, and it seems like she is going to be at WrestleMania, and they're going to try and find some way to turn this into like a three-way or something like that, I guess, a triple threat. Yeah. Is that what you've heard, Dan?
I mean, I haven't heard much, but I got to imagine that it's going to be a triple threat match. I mean, this kind of goes off what we talked about a little bit in the segment before, that we have all this talent available. They have too much talent. Mm-hmm. And I said it before, Triple H is keeping the game fresh by changing the storylines around. The expectation is you don't know what to expect in WWE. I think that's the new trend, and I love it. I think everyone who thinks, oh, the card is set, well, he just threw another curveball. He took the belt off Rhea, and now she doesn't have it. So where does she go? Does she go anywhere? I mean, I doubt it. She'll be at WrestleMania. She's going to be in the title contention. She's probably the number one female talent in WWE, in my opinion. She's going to be there. She's going to main event it. And she'll just be probably in a triple threat match. Or maybe a fatal four-way. Maybe Becky Lynch comes back and we have ourselves a fatal four-way. Maybe this is a year of triple threats and fatal four-ways.
Doesn't that kind of undermine the Rumble and the Elimination Chamber, though, if they just slide her in?
Do whatever they want. Is it really the road to WrestleMania?
Right.
That's a good question. I mean,
well, Charlotte Flair's still getting her. Charlotte Flair. I don't know. They've done that before.
You're right. I mean, Belair's getting her title shot too. It's just, I don't know. The implication there is that it's going to kind of be a one-on-one. That's an interesting thought. One question that I had that I'd actually be really interested to hear your thoughts on this, Matt, especially, but Dan too. I'm concerned because it seems like the only way that they could kind of shoehorn, given that we're this close to WrestleMania, given that there's no PLEs really left, and that things are really starting to solidify, it seems to me like the only real way that Rhea can get on the WrestleMania card, certainly get on the card and at the top, where we think she's going to end up, would be to basically just step up and demand it. Would be to just step up and say, invoke some kind of whatever 24-hour
rematch
clause or something, which they really don't talk about anymore. That's kind of a WCW thing, in my opinion.
Well, they specifically ended those a few years back.
Right. And so the only real way that she could get it is by standing up and saying, I deserve this. I deserve a rematch. I'm going to get it. And then if they grant it to her, does that go even further against destroying the whole road to WrestleMania thing? Because some people got there by winning the Elimination Chamber and defeating 5 other competitors in a brutal, essentially, cage match.
Mm-hmm.
Some people got there by defeating 29 other competitors in the Royal Rumble. And yet you just stood up and said, give it to me, and you got it. I mean, does that destroy the quality of the product at all if you can just be everybody's favorite child and demand it and get it? I don't know.
That sounds like a heel turn.
A little bit, kind of. I mean, although
I don't think they'll find a way of working it in.
But would that ruin it for you, Dan, if she just came in and said...
I think it just adds to the surprise that nothing is a given storyline.
Mm.
I think Triple H it's gonna be my theme for 2024 and 2025. That Triple H was out of his way to throw curveballs. It's another, like, everyone seems to think that because obviously they advertise that you win it for Royal Rumble and you win it for Elimination Chamber, you move on. But everyone thinks that's just automatically the match 1v1. I mean, no, it's not. I think they'll find a way. I don't know how. I'm hoping through good storytelling, but they'll find a way of adding Rhea to a match, in my opinion.
If WrestleMania 41, let's just say all like the premier events, right? Like the main events, the 4 main events every night or whatever that they have. If basically all of those matches end up being some kind of, triple threat, 4-way tag match type situation, does that improve the product? Does it make the product worse? No effect at all? I mean, not seeing a one-on-one championship bout, I feel like kind of dilutes it a little bit. I don't know.
You talking just the women's division or everything?
Well, because it seems to me that they're setting up a 3-way or a 4-way on the men's side. I mean, right now, the only championship that I can see is half of the world championships look like they're going to be some kind of 3+ person match, right? You got Gunther's title, which looks like, although that could maybe go another way, I don't know, depending on what's in Chad Gable's box. It could end up, it looks like that's just going to be straight Gunther and Yeet, right? And then you've got the women's championship, which looks like it's just basically going to be a one-on-one, right, with Charlotte.
Trish Stratus is getting added to that match.
Yeah, like that's what I'm saying. So if 3/4 of the matches for the top line world championships end up being 3+ people in the ring going for it, does that dilute the quality of the product at all, having that many people fighting for the championship like that and just not having it?
I think it should make it more exciting. I think sometimes 1v1 matches are boring.
Well, yeah, you can't have it be 30 minutes long if it's going to be 1v1.
Right.
But
I think
it's going to be a very jam-packed card. A very jam-packed card.
Yeah, everyone is kind of healthy now, aren't they? Basically,
everyone's there. There's no one out, and Becky Lynch is not even. You have no Becky Lynch yet, and you have no Roman Reigns. And obviously, we all just assume Roman Reigns is to be in a triple threat match with CM Punk and Seth Rollins. But I mean, the card is just, you got Trish Stratus. You have.
I was a little confused on that. I watched Punk's promo multiple times, and I kind of left kind of confused as to what was going to happen. Like, obviously there's huge heat between him and Rollins right now, but was he saying he was going to go after the championship? Like, he was just kind of like calling everybody out. He was calling Rock out, calling Cena out.
He spent 5 minutes talking about The Rock.
Yeah, I was just like, what?
The Rock responded on Twitter.
Is he trying to do some kind of a AstroTurf pipe bomb situation right now or something? Like,
I think
I didn't know what to make of it.
Again, I go back, and it's like the 5th time already, and I feel like a broken record. I think Triple H likes chaos. He likes storytelling that just CM Punk called out The Rock. The Rock responded to CM Punk. Like, that's a whole other storyline that is going to come up at some point down the road. Like, no, there's just chaos everywhere, and they're finding a way of taking these stories and creating chaos and intertwining them when CM Punk really has a battle going on with Seth Rollins right now, but he's calling out John Cena and The Rock at the beginning of the promo. I mean, so like it's everywhere. You have Roman Reigns who's going to show up and go after Seth Rollins, who's already in a thing with CM Punk. It's just chaos everywhere. You don't know right now. You don't know what's going on, and I think this is the new version of WWE that has it exciting, and quite frankly, why it's doing pretty well in social media and in viewership.
Could we see?
It's controlled chaos.
Could we see? Because I was just thinking back. This is the last thing because we got to end this segment. But could we see? I'm thinking back to the promo that CM Punk cut, and Rollins came out right after Punk said, you know, you and Becky, he mentioned Becky by name specifically. And he came out, and I'm wondering if we're not going to see some kind of a mixed tag, Punk, AJ, Becky, Rollins, not necessarily at WrestleMania, but at some point down the road. That's a draw, if you ask me. That's 100.
Yeah, everybody wants AJ to come back.
Yeah, that's a draw, if you ask me. I don't know. That would be outstanding if that's got SummerSlam written all over it, in my opinion. If you can get AJ to come back.
That's a future. That's a main match for a different card.
Yep. That's huge.
Well, comment down below. Let us know what you thought about this past week's Raw and all the new developments and how the WrestleMania card is looking to you. Let us know.
All right, segment 3, mid-card match. So we got a little one. We got a little popcorn segment here. Some interesting business news on the side of AEW. So they've decided to re-sign, extend, I don't know exactly what you'd call it, but a multi-year deal with Johan Productions. AEW is sort of, I'll call it an extension. They're extending their relationship with Johan Productions. Johan, for those of you that don't know, just a quick overview, Johan is basically like a distribution promotional company for different types of entertainment products. The idea is that I think that they form some kind of a relationship. They act as a go-between between restaurants, casinos, bars, those kinds of places, and companies that produce high-level entertaining, typically sports-related content. I think that the bars and the casinos, you know, get sort of a membership type deal through Johan. Johan gets really, really good deals on pay-per-view distribution, and then the two kind of work together. So the idea is, if you don't want to pay $50 to see whatever AEW pay-per-view, Revolution this week, for example, you just head on down to your local Dave & Buster's, and for the cost of a tall Bud Light, you can watch yourself AEW Revolution sit at the bar. And, of course, hopefully be around other people that are also enjoy that same type of content. So I did look. I mean, you see bull riding, you see UFC, you see AEW. Actually, I did see some WWE advertised. Maybe that's old pay-per-views because they don't really do that anymore. So I guess the real question that I have is, does this make sense for AEW? Does this pad their buys in any kind of way? Because pay-per-view buys are one of the big things that people talk about. How does this change the way that we perceive the pay-per-view buys number? This is something that I haven't really considered before, how this would play into it. And how does this affect... Because to me, this is basically sort of a stake through the heart of getting the pay-per-views live on HBO. I mean, why would Johan ever go in on a deal like that if it's all just going to be available on HBO? I don't know. What do you guys think?
Well, I mean, the way I'm understanding it, it's got to be a good thing for AEW because it's guaranteed money whether anyone watches the pay-per-view or not, right?
I don't know, because it could be a situation where it's like, okay, we have 1,000 Dave & Buster's, we're going to buy 1,000 pay-per-views from you at some reduced rate or whatever, right? Or it might be, hey, we only have 400 Dave & Buster's that are interested in getting this pay-per-view, that are these franchisees that are interested in paying for this. So we'll get it for $20 a pop or something like that, you know, whatever it ends up being. So I think the nature of that relationship is a little clouded. Without the contract in hand, I can't answer it. But to me, again, as the fan who isn't interested and doesn't live right next door to a Dave & Buster's, to me, it seems like this doesn't align with putting the pay-per-views on Max, which is what I think 99% of the fan base was hoping for. It seems to me like if I'm Johan, I want some kind of exclusivity. At least during the pay-per-view window. Okay, a week later or a month later, fine. Like, put it up on HBO, archive it or whatever, but live in real time, it's dead.
All right, so a couple things here. I don't know if you guys can see me or not, but I've been laughing for like the past 2 minutes because when I read this title and maybe this is how little I think of AEW, that when I read this off of our sheet. I, in my head, was saying that they're doing pay-per-views in the Dave and Buster's.
No.
When Jeremy started explaining it, I'm like, wait a minute, I just had that completely wrong. That's why I was laughing to myself here for 2 minutes while you were talking about that. I maybe because I think so little of AEW, or I think that's what they're doing the shows now. I don't know.
They can't go off the top rope at those shows. They get over to the giant Rock'em Sock'em robots and duke it out.
Exactly. I don't know what I think this deal works. I don't know the specifics of this deal, but just looking at the like the concept of it, I think it's great for AEW. It's putting their pay-per-view in popular entertainment sites. I don't know how many Dave and Buster's are across the country, but to have their show in there, I think look, everyone knows who WWE is. And it's a strong. If you're a wrestling fan, you pretty much know who AEW is. But for new wrestling fans, they may have heard of WWE but never have watched it. People who aren't really wrestling fans most likely probably have never heard of AEW. So I think it's good for them to be in there. I think it's going to get people to see another wrestling promotion. Hey, I like that. That was cool. What was that? Oh, that's AEW. I think it's good for AEW to be in those venues. And I think it's good for Dave and Buster's. Look, I think Dave and Buster's is busy whether AEW being played at their venues or not. But I think it's another reason to get people in there on a Friday night or a Saturday night, whatever, or Sunday, whenever AEW does their pay-per-views. I think it's good for both right now. I'm sure down the road those economics can change. I don't know what the economics of the deal are, but I think for both of them right now it makes sense. I think they're both getting something out of this.
Yeah, and I can't imagine it's terribly lucrative. I just looked it up. There's 160.
Yeah, and I can't imagine anyone would pay. I mean,
that's it. Wow.
That's it. 106. Now there's casinos, there's restaurants. I mean, if you go onto the Johan website and say like, hey, I want to go to a place that contracts with Johan down in New York City, there's a gajillion places that are all associated with it. But I mean, even if there's 2,000 or 3,000 locations, even, I mean,
yeah, I think it's good for both of them.
Yeah. I think it is good. Again, I just wonder what this is going to do to our. Okay, I guess I'm going to have to go to Dave and Buster's if I want to afford to watch AEW Revolution, because pretty soon it's going to be. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised at all if the all-in pay-per-view is $70 to get all-in. Standard pay-per-view is $50, and they're pushing this thing hard. This all-in Texas.
I mean, yeah. When they were talking about starting with Max, though, they said the pay-per-views were going to be available on there for less. But I think this will be the first pay-per-view, isn't it? Since they started on Max?
It was January that they started on Max,
so, yeah.
right?
So this will be the first one.
So, and they've got, 8 more planned throughout the year? So, it's not going on Max. That's all I know for sure. So, anyways, there you have it. I mean, I think AEW is continuing to move forward. It is consistent revenue, which is something they need. We don't know if they're in the black or not, but you know, one of the reasons why that TV deal was so important was them is because they need that consistent money coming in. They have made some adjustments on their live shows, going to smaller venues. Thank you, Tony Khan. You clearly watch our show 6 months after we start talking about things, but we appreciate it nonetheless.
We'll email you some booking ideas.
Yeah, we've got some great booking ideas for you.
Anyways, we're not cheap.
All business, Dan.
Thank you. Thank you, Dan, for covering that up for us. Yeah, so that's that.
All right, next topic. Some more releases, or at least a release. This one's a little old, though. We talked a few weeks ago about everyone that got released from WWE, including, Cedric Alexander, AOP, Good Brothers, a few others. This one kind of snuck on by. I didn't hear anything about this until earlier today. Carmella, no longer with WWE. Her contract was allowed to expire. She recently went on a podcast with a reality star, someone from Teen Mom or something like that, talking about how, I just caught a gist of it. Basically, Carmella was notified that her contract was expiring in 10 days, and then she says after that she was completely ghosted by the company. And nobody talked to her. Nobody said anything. She was just allowed to go. Her husband, Corey Graves, still works for the company. We know there was some kerfuffle with him a few weeks ago. Maybe this had something to do with it. I don't know. But she's really hurt by this whole situation. She was quoted as saying, "It's a shitty way to end a 12-year career." She was in that company for 12 years.
Yeah.
She went away to have a baby and then lost her job. She thinks she's being punished for having a kid. So not great news.
Is she ready to come back to work now with the kid and everything?
I mean, I think she was ready. Yeah, she had the baby about the same time Alexa Bliss did.
Oh, was it that long ago?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't realize it was that long
Maybe
ago.
a couple months sooner, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think she was ready, willing, and able.
I guess the timing does just about line up with the whole Corey Graves drama, although I maybe, here's the thing. Okay, I'm going to fantasy book this here, I guess. Yeah, I mean, maybe Corey saw his wife got released, saw that he was getting kicked out of the booth, and panicked a little bit. I mean, new baby, wife's out of a job. He's basically gotten a demotion. I mean, that's really the only real way to put it. A pretty significant demotion. Got kicked out by a guy with basically no commentary experience. That's just a whack job, crazy promotion type guy.
You love Pat McAfee, and you know it.
Pat McAfee. And maybe he lashed out. I mean, I guess in that context, the fact that he only sent out a awkwardly worded, heated tweet, I guess, is pretty commendable. I mean, if I was in that particular position, I might be apt to do a little more than that, especially given how much I've invested. I don't know. Could she go anywhere else? I don't know. Would we want to see her in AEW or TNA? Maybe TNA.
TNA, maybe, yeah.
I don't think she's a great fit for AEW, in my opinion, but I don't know.
I think, I definitely think Corey wants to wrestle again. So if there is some sort of issue going on, I don't understand why he would want to stay in the company that allegedly got rid of his wife for having a kid. So I could see both of them going someplace else, just if he was promised the ability to wrestle again.
We were just saying the rosters were really crowded. If you got someone that's been out, why would you bring them back if you're already crowded? I don't know.
I do think there's something to the whole Corey Graves situation now that I kind of put two and two together. I always kind of forget that they're together. I think that him acting the way he acted, probably he was frustrated with. I think he was frustrated, obviously, what was going on with Pat McAfee coming back and him getting put aside, but also frustrated with the fact that management and the way they're handling things they're married, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Or no?
Yes,
yeah, they're married. Handling things with his wife and as far as her status and so on, rather not had anything to do with her having a baby. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what the proof of that is. I think maybe, I personally, I kind of feel like her character kind of went its course for a while. So I don't know. It's a very packed women's division. So I could see where there's like, oh, well, we just don't. And if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure her contract got extended and her pay got increased pretty well right before the women's division kind of exploded. And now this is kind of one of those like, okay, we're paying her quite a bit. She's not getting over on the fans. What do we need her for? I mean, let's just release her and put that money towards something else. I don't know, what the politics of it are and what they aren't. But I do think it's definitely adding to some of the frustration you're seeing from Corey Graves for sure.
Yeah, I think especially the women's division, and just thinking about it now, if we don't already have a significant contract signed with you, meaning like, 5 years left on it or whatever, if you aren't a member of, a stable or some other larger group that's involved in a significant plot line, or if we don't think you can hold up the world championship belt, there's no reason to keep you. There's no reason to have you. And you can see it now, like, for example, Shotzi got sent down to NXT, and she's been down working in NXT for, 6+ months now or so. I think she just has a lot of time left on her contract, and they don't know what to do with her, so they sent her down to NXT to work down there. They kind of did it with Baron Corbin a little while ago. Mm-hmm. They were like, we don't know what to do with you. We can't let you hold the championship belt, and we don't see you. We don't have a vision of you inside a major stable that can contribute to a plot line. There you go. Off you go, buddy, and you serve out the rest of your time down in purgatory. So yeah, I mean, if you think about every woman that sits on the card right now, how many of them couldn't hold up the haven't already, or couldn't hold up the world championship belt on the blue or the red brand?
It's crowded.
None of them. So, yeah, I don't know. It sounds like they definitely handled it in an unprofessional way, although I do hear stories all the time about, especially somebody that's been out of the company for a year and a half, their contract slipping through the cracks and them just not, following up on it. Yeah, that being said, it's just as likely that they took the cheap way out and ignored a decent talent that they had,
Yeah, that just seems like bad business not to even contact her if that's what actually happened.
Yeah. Unprofessional for sure.
Yeah. We'll have to wait and see if she shows up anyplace else. Hopefully she'll still have a career at some point, but I always liked her. She was good talent.
Yeah, she's pretty good. All right. AEW Revolution 2025 on the docket coming up this Sunday night. Pay-per-view. Hey, let's do a This Week in Wrestling History. Last year, AEW Revolution, the retirement of Sting occurred with that epic. I just want to quickly remind everybody and give Lily a little task here. If you could just show the little clip down here in the corner. That Darby Allin bump through the glass. Can we just all have a moment of silence for that ridiculous bump? Okay. Yeah. Anyways, so let's talk about this year, 2025. This card is actually shaping up. I was just reviewing it before we started recording here. This is actually one of the more exciting cards. There's a lot of story that's involved in these. One of the criticisms we've had for AEW in the recent, let's say, 6 to 12 month time frame has been, the stories kind of haven't been so great. The wrestling's been great, but the story hasn't really been there. There's a lot of story here, so we're just going to run through the card real quick. Maybe talk a little bit about the stories that we like and the things we don't, because there are some very interesting matches going on here. So on the pre-show, we have a trios match with Big Boom AJ and the Conglomeration, which is Orange Cassidy and Mark Briscoe, versus Johnny TV and MXM Collection. That's Mansoor and Madden, not Manson. In a trios match that definitely has got pre-show written all over it. Oh, yeah. Haven't seen Mark Briscoe in a while. Johnny TV is Johnny Nitro, right?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure I wasn't crazy because he hasn't really been around
Morrison,
either.
Johnny Mundo.
Yeah. But he hasn't really been around. I haven't seen too much of him.
Yeah, he's here or there.
So that's kind of a throwaway match. I don't want to spend a lot of time talking about that. However, Will Ospreay versus Kyle Fletcher in a steel cage match. That'll be cool.
Yeah.
Both of them extremely talented. Both of them had great matches at Grand Slam Australia. Both of them performed very well. There's a lot of intensity. There's always a lot of intensity when you get Will Ospreay involved in a match, and he's bringing it here. And how many steel cages have we seen Will Ospreay in?
Oh, Ospreay? I don't think there have been any in AEW.
Maybe in Japan, although they don't really do that in Japan.
Yeah, I'm sure he's been in them. I just can't think of any.
Yeah, I can't think of any off the top of my head. So this could be a pretty unique situation.
Quick question. Is he jumping off the top of the cage?
If there's not a top on it, yeah, he has to.
Yeah, there won't be a top on it. It's not a cell. It's just a cage.
It's Will Ospreay.
You have to jump off.
He's Will Ospreay. Ospreay, the bird. Yeah, I mean, you have to jump off the top of the cage. Has to be done. And Ospreay will do anything for a crowd. I think he's proven that time and time again. He'll do anything for the company. He'll do anything for a crowd. So I think we're going to see that. Next up, MJF versus Hangman Adam Page. A lot of intensity. They're really turning up the heat on this one. MJF going after Christopher Daniels, who's, I guess, Hangman's mentor. Is that the angle they're working?
Yeah, and Hangman retired him.
I
feel like this rivalry's been going on for a year.
No, it hasn't. No. This is
feels
new.
like it. I don't know why.
I know what you mean. Yeah, it feels like
I feel like these two are always fighting each other. I don't know why.
They have faced each other in the past, but this is a new story that just started a couple months ago.
Hangman's kind of even when he's playing face, he can't play like smiley good guy face. He has to play like intense, brooding, angry.
Well, yeah, technically he is a heel, but everyone's cheering him.
Yeah.
He is a heel though.
You got to do what you got to do. Here's another one with some story behind it, a little more ham-fisted but interesting. Swerve Strickland versus Ricochet. Ricochet playing the heel, which is something I wanted him to do when he went to AEW. Swerve is they're both outstanding wrestlers. This is going to determine the number one contender for the AEW World Championship. So whoever wins this match, we're going to see go up against either Jon Moxley or Cope. How cool would it be to see a Ricochet versus Cope match in AEW? Perhaps with some kind of really cool stipulation. That being said, Ricochet needs to sharpen his heel gimmick again. That's gotten really dull from his many years in WWE, and his promos just haven't been very sharp, haven't been very on point.
Yeah. It's been different than what he's done in the past, that's for sure.
But there is a long-standing storyline to go along with it. There's a robe, there's honor, there's dignity, there's all that cool stuff associated with it. So I got to give AEW at least credit for the attempt. Here's one that really gets stuck in my craw. Mercedes Moné versus Momo Watanabe. Watanabe was at Grand Slam Australia when Moné defeated our girl, Harley Cameron.
Mm-hmm.
And for some reason, they had a standoff at the end of the match off to the side, and now they're trying to do this quick heat build. They're trying to build a lot of heat.
Yeah, most of their story comes from their time in Japan together. Momo won a match getting basically a Money in the Bank for a variety of different women's championships.
Yeah,
and
Stardom and all the... Yeah.
She ended up choosing Mercedes, so... most of the story has happened off screen for AEW
and
fans.
She chose the TNT Championship. She didn't choose one of the
TBS.
other 3 belts that Moné's walking around. She chose that specific AEW Championship, which I guess was a way for them to try to drive some relevancy into the AEW crowd. But you got to leave that shit in Japan. Like, you can't be trying to bring that stuff over here unless you're going to do a lot of work to promote it with background and vignettes and stuff. I mean, you got to do a lot of work because the crowd has to cover... This is not Forbidden Door. Forbidden Door, this makes sense to me. This is a Forbidden Door match. This is not a Revolution match. I don't know why Tony's doing this at all. The World Tag Team Championship belts are up for grabs. This is the Hurt Syndicate, who are the current championships. Lashley and Sheldon Benjamin with MVP, who is hysterical, by the way. Against the Outrunners, who sort of accidentally won the opportunity from, what are they called now?
Murder Machine.
The Murder Machine, which is Brian Cage and...
Lance Archer.
Lance Archer, thank you. I'm just going to point at you. When I point at you, talk.
Mm-hmm.
So many people.
Well, listen, you're right, but there's an actual tag team division with actual tag teams that actually do tag team stuff.
Not just people thrown together.
And tag team tactics. So, and the Outrunners are kind of a fun... 80s,
the crowd loves them.
Yeah, 80s throwback kind of guys. They're kind of goofy.
Huge crowd favorite.
They won this opportunity by accident, and the Hurt Syndicate's been walking around acting like they're going to stomp their throats in. I don't know, it could be kind of fun to see them go over. It's kind of fun. That Turbo guy's really funny, Turbo Floyd. Timeless Tony Storm wins her championship back at home at Grand Slam. Is going up against Mariah May. Again, another one that they're trying to put a lot of intensity in. Mariah May had that pretty crazy attack a couple of weeks ago.
This is the rubber match.
Leaving a bloodied, timeless Tony Storm. This is a Falls Count Anywhere match. I always get a little nervous when I see the ladies going after those wild stipulations. The Extreme, the Falls Count Anywhere, the Boiler Room Brawls, like any kind of that kind of stuff. I feel like... just the spots aren't going to look as good. They're not going to be as extreme. This is a real opportunity for Tony Storm and Mariah May to earn a little bit of respect, I think, if they actually go for it. Because that's the setup. Mariah May made her bleed. So both of them have to bleed.
Both of them have in the past.
But they have to bleed now in this match in order to earn it. You can't bleed in all the go up to it and then not get any color during the match. So hard way or easy way, one of them's going to have to do it. The AEW International Championship is up for grabs. Konosuke Takeshita. Is he the only champion in the Callis family right now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Versus Kenny Omega. I don't think Takeshita's going to lose.
Really?
I think Omega's winning.
I think so too.
You think? I mean,
he's back. He did his return. He's come. I mean, he's got to win something at some point. I mean,
Takeshita's had the belt for a while now, and his whole story is he beat Omega 2 weeks in a row, or twice in 1 week a year or two ago. I think this is Omega's time to beat him.
I want Omega to win. My fan heart wants Omega to win. The problem is I don't see any reason for Takeshita to have the belt now. So to me, it's got to be written into his contract or something crazy like that, because I don't think he deserves to have the belt, has deserved to have the belt, doesn't need the belt with his look and his strong style and everything. I think he gets over without having the belt. I hope Kenny wins, but I just don't see any reason for Takeshita to lose it, I guess, is what it comes down to. Last match, main event, AEW World Championship on the line, assuming it still exists. Nobody's actually seen inside the suitcase. When was the last time we actually laid eyes on the AEW World Championship?
When he won it.
6 months ago?
As soon as he won it, he stuck it in a bag.
Yeah. So it could just be a briefcase. It's like that scene from Semi-Pro, and he's like, "You want to check this says $10,000 on it. Good for you." Moxley versus Cope for the AEW World Championship. This one, a lot of intensity. Really lit a fire on this one in the last 4 weeks, I would say. Cope's been slowly taking apart Jon Moxley. Kind of making Moxley look a little babyface-ish. A little bit with his team getting torn apart. I mean, there's a lot of sympathetic shots. There's a lot of Here's what I'm saying. There's
he's being the badass baby face.
There's a lot of sympathetic shots of Moxley. If Moxley wanted to maintain his hardcore heel gimmick that he's been doing, he would just stand in the ring and watch him and go, but he's not. He's rubbing his head. His eyes are all worried. He's selling it.
Right, that's the point. He's being the chicken shit heel who won't go into the ring. That's what he's doing.
That's not how I'm reading it.
Because people are still cheering him, even though he's been the heel all along.
That's not how I'm reading it, but I could see how somebody could read it that way, for sure. That's not my
This is
reading.
the only match that I have interest in. I mean, this is the only one that I'm looking forward to see what happens in.
Cope's got to win. He's got to bring the belt out.
I hope so, because I'm sick to death of Moxley.
They're burying that belt by not showing it.
Ugh.
It needs to go back on Cope's, not forever, right? For a little bit, a few months maybe.
Or Cope wins it, and then 5 minutes later, Christian cashes in his contract, and then he wins the belt at the end of the night.
The other thing is that MJF and Hangman Adam Page have been talking about, I'm going to get back there. I'm going to get back there.
So
I'm
has
going to
Swerve.
get back there. And so has Swerve. Well, Swerve is actually in a match to become the number one contender versus MJF and Hangman. So,
but they're starting to do a lot more stories, intertwining stories like that, which is it's a beginning at least.
Yeah, I think we're seeing the at least what appear to be setups for future plot so that we can look back like everybody did now with John Cena when they went back to his press conference after the Royal Rumble, and they're kind of like, that's kind of heely the way that that's kind of heely. I think that, perhaps AEW I have hope that AEW is maturing a little bit more now, and they're maybe laying some seeds for some potential good storylines that will extend to All In and beyond, hopefully.
I'm intrigued to see a new world champion. I think Adam Copeland will be good, and I like to see who his possible opponent would be as well. So I think it's time for some new people on the top of the card.
You think Cope can hold the belt at 52 or?
Yeah, I think he needs to for a while. Maybe he'll get some buzz in AEW for a while. Have the veteran hold it for a while, like Chris Jericho did. I mean, Cope's not gonna be there forever, so give him the title now, let him have his reign, and then start giving some of the new guys a chance.
One of the criticisms I've been reading a lot of Cope on the internet lately is that he doesn't put the young guys over. That's one of the criticisms I've been reading, is that he doesn't do a good job.
I don't think he's ready for that yet, though.
And I think his way of putting them over when he was the TNT champ was having the matches with them and giving them a shot.
Well, and if you look at even the work he's done in the last couple of weeks, he's working with Hook. He's tagging with some of the young talent, not just against them, but with them as well. And I think that puts him over. Yeah, I think the criticism of him not putting the young guys over is unfair.
I mean, he's kind of teaming with Jay White right now, so.
I don't think he's the kind of guy that's going to slowly taper. His career is not going to slowly taper off the way like kind of Jericho seems to be doing, or Taker did, where he'd only show up like once a year for the WrestleMania match. He's the kind of guy that like when he's done, he's done. When he decides he's finished, he's just going to go, yep, like Sting. My contract's not renewing. I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Anyways, guys, be sure to let us know down below what you think. What's going to happen on Sunday night at Revolution? What match are you most excited about? And I know I'm really looking forward to it, and I can definitely see this as a springboard to future storylines ahead, so I'm excited for it.
And that's it for this week. Another one bites the dust. Be sure to comment your comments down below, because what else are you going to put down below in the comments section but your comments? Like the video if you like the video. Hit subscribe, hit share, turn on the bell, do all that good stuff, because we're putting out content all the time. We're working on some new projects, some of which we can't talk about right now, but put the notification bell on so you can see all that stuff come up when we are good and ready to bring it to you. And in the meantime, you keep watching, we'll keep wrestling with the business. What else do you put in the comment section?